Jim Bakker Show. I'm your co-host, Tammy Sue Bakker. Today's special guests, Tom Horn, Donna Howell, Derek and Sharon Gilbert, and Jennifer LeClaire. And now, please give a warm welcome to my parents and the hosts of the Jim Bakker Show, Jim and Lori Bakker.
In the history of our nation, we've never had a former president who, as soon as Trump took office, moved 2 miles across town, set up an office, and is working with what's called the OFA. I think it's called his agitation group, 30-some thousand people, 250 offices nationwide, and they are literally running what people in the Beltway are calling a shadow government third-term pseudo-presidency that is literally committed to trying to resist the Trump administration on every level. I think it was actually on this program a few months ago when he first came out with his God's Chaos candidate.
Yes.
And Lance said God delivered, he said there was a spirit of witchcraft in the Oval Office. Now, he didn't just say in Washington, D.C., or even in the White House. He said it was in the Oval Office, and it was about to bring in a much more powerful darkness with it, and God delivered America from that spirit. Do you remember when he said that?
Jennifer, you wrote this book, Angels on Assignment. This is supernatural stuff. Angels are supernatural. There is evil, the fallen angels. They're demons. They're demon power.
Yes.
And so there's good and evil in the supernatural world. So tell us a little bit about the Angels on Assignment, and you're sensitive to the supernatural, right? And this is what we're trying to wake people up today, is you're going to have some connection to God.
Yeah.
And God's supernatural. So what's the spiritual battle behind what's been going on? Like this congressman, and he's now gone back into emergency care.
Right.
And the man wanted to kill 50 congressmen, and he almost pulled it off.
Yeah.
He almost did. You know, I believe in this time, in this hour, we're seeing the Antichrist spirit just running rampant. I mean, at Charisma, we cover story after story after story. There are Satanists trying to work their way into schools with the opposite of good news clubs, you know, satanic clubs, kicking out the Bible and trying to take over. There's just an Antichrist spirit that has infiltrated America. Now, what's interesting is, what gives me hope is that on Election Day, the morning of Election Day, it was about 5 a.m. I get up to pray at 4. And about 5 a.m., the Lord told me, on this day, a kingdom will be toppled. And then on the next day, he told me that the Jezebel curse had been broken off the nation. Now, does that mean that we no longer deal with Jezebel? No. It just means that curse, which came in when Clinton came in office, Hillary came in office, has been broken. So while I'm still seeing the evident fruit of the Antichrist spirit rising, of the Jezebel spirit working, whatever sort of bent you believe in spiritual warfare, we all agree that there are evil forces at work. I'm also seeing angels, innumerable angels, rising up and fighting in the heavenlies. We're seeing, you know, principalities on the evil side. We've got principalities on the angelic side, on the good side, that are battling, like when Michael, you know, came against the prince of Persia.
Right.
And so I'm encouraged, because even though evil is still running rampant, we're seeing angels on assignment from the Lord, and they're doing damage to the kingdom of darkness.
Yes. Amen.
You know, I want everybody who doesn't have these books. Yes. These are brand new. This is the Trump prophecies and what's next of the Trump prophecies. And then we have the Angels on Assignment.
Right.
And then Donna, who hasn't even spoken yet, because she's going to be preaching here. This is your book, Radicals.
Yes.
Why Tomorrow Belongs to Post-Denominational Christians Infused with Supernatural Power. So this book and the Trump prophecy book, the Angels on Assignment book, and then, Derek, we have your book too.
Yes.
We have The Great Inception. What does that mean?
It's a play on a word it means beginning, and I think we're in the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
But it's also a play on the title of a movie from about 5-6 years ago starring Leonardo DiCaprio, a science fiction movie where he developed a technology that let him plant false information into the dreams of subjects. And that changed what they believed, so it changed how they behaved. And the enemy, these fallen angels who've been taking their assignments from Lucifer, Satan, since Eden and before, have been playing that game with us since the beginning. Oh, we're your creators. We're the ones who will help you evolve to the next level. We're the ones that you must bow down to. And oh, by the way, shed the blood of your fellow man. Kill your babies. That's what we need. That's how we will, that's it. Basically, by changing what we believe, by getting people to believe a lie, they've changed how we behave.
Yeah, that's it. That's true.
Dear, I keep wondering it. How can the America that I knew, no one would kill a baby. No one back then when I was a young kid. Would they, Donna? Nobody would kill a baby. Nobody would do it in America. They just wouldn't think of it unless they'd call them radical. It has to be supernaturally evil for America to have killed 50 million. We've killed more than we've killed in probably any of our wars as far as the people that were killed of our own people.
It's not a new thing. This is something that goes back millennia, the practice of killing one's children to get favor from the gods. It's just now today we do it in sort of an assembly line fashion where most of the people doing it don't even realize that they're sacrificing to a god, a small g god, fallen angel, Molech. You can make a real strong case that Molech is the patron god of the United States these days, with 50 million children have been sacrificed. But this was a god that were the Canaanites, the people that God, Yahweh, told Joshua to push out of the land because they were doing these abominable things, sacrificing their children in the fire to Molech, doing detestable things with one another and with animals. I mean, there are parts of the Bible, frankly, you don't want to read to your young children unless you really kind of, get delicate about it. But God wasn't inventing things to tell the Israelites not to do. He was telling them not to do them because the Canaanites, the Amorites, and the other ites that were in the land were doing them.
And you have a chapter called Herman. And we talked about that on the show before.
Yes.
Right. But this is not stuff that everybody talks about.
The church has forgotten what the apostles and the prophets knew. The prophets and the apostles, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, when they were writing the books of the Bible, knew what the people around them believed. They knew that the Canaanites and the Amorites and the Babylonians and the Egyptians worshipped these entities, and that these entities, these small g gods, were real.
The one book would normally, anybody, other publisher, would put $35 for the book of the Trump prophecy.
Right.
If you'd made this in hardback, you could have charged $35 for it because it's a hot book.
Right.
Everybody wants to read this book. But it's not $35. It's $35 for all 4 of these brand new books. We're talking about the Great Inception. And I'll tell you, people, God has given me favor with prophets and the elders of the church.
Yes.
Let me have the ability to present
Yes.
these materials. And we're in the last days. And people want fluff and puff. But these are what you need. Donna Hall, the radicals. And what is God going to do? And people are just crazy about this book and crazy about you.
Yes.
Because God's anointed you to be bold. You are advanced and in the church, and you dare to speak to church about, a lot of the kids aren't even going to church anymore. You know why, right? Because God showed you a lot. And that's what you talk about in this book. This is what you talk about, is what's now. What do we, and people, I'll tell you what, the only reason God's letting me stay alive, I think, is because somebody has got to sound a trumpet.
I think that every generation does have a trumpet blaster, but I think that part of the message of my book is to just do it because you're told to do it, whether you're the trumpet or whether, you know, your role in whatever it is that you're doing is a quiet role, or as you know, one of the things I've put down for you guys to ask me about today is the elderly role, which I'm excited to answer that one later.
Yes, I want.
Whatever your role is, do it and do it passionately. It doesn't mean you have to be loud, and it doesn't mean you have to be a certain age or a certain gender. Just do it, and do it as well as you can in the sphere of influence that you have.
That's right. They need to read your book, and they need to start doing what God's called you to do.
That's right. The key. That's the key. Be obedient. Obedience.
God uses the least that feel worthy. God uses them.
That's
God
right.
wants you. Derek, I got a lot of questions. Why are mountains important? And I mean, right now, all through my history, or right here that we have on the set with us, and the news of the day, we've got mountains shaking. We've got mountains spewing out. We've got people warning us that the Yellowstone Park, the volcano there, could go. You know, we have tremendous earthquakes right now at Yellowstone, 800 and some in the last couple of weeks. What part does mountains play?
Well, mountains have always been holy throughout human history, and it's because the original mountain, the Garden of Eden, was located on a mountain. Ezekiel 28 tells us that the Garden of Eden was God's holy mountain. The concept of the holy mountain plays a key role in the history of the world, the history of the Bible. And again, it's another aspect of this supernatural war since Eden that's been stripped out of the Bible. And we see, I think, a very key clue as to who the enemy will be in the end times by looking at these other claimants, these rebel claimants to the throne, if you will, these other holy mountains of these small g rebellious gods. They want to set up their own mount of assembly or mount of the congregation to rule instead of where God has established his throne, which is the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, Mount Zion. That is his mount of assembly.
That's right.
You say that the progressives today are not really progressive and that they really go back to ancient pagan world.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Things that we are being told today are progressive in terms of identity. You know, we're told that gender is fluid, that you can be a man one day, a woman the next day, and then neither the day after. I mean, in Canada now, they just passed a bill that if you use the wrong pronoun, you could be accused of a hate crime. And it's hard to know because it's no longer male or female. It's now non-binary. That's a new category. You're neither. In fact, there's a major Protestant denomination here in the U.S. that just consecrated a deacon who identifies as non-binary, neither male nor female. But the thing is, this isn't new. This is very old. There was a goddess who was worshipped in the ancient world, ancient Mesopotamia, by the name of Inanna, worshipped as far back as like 4000 BC. She's also known by the names Ishtar or Aphrodite, Astarte or Ashtoreth in the Bible. Venus, she was the goddess of sex and not husband and wife relations. We're talking carnal, extramarital sex, ritualistic sex. She was the goddess of prostitutes, except she wasn't always a goddess. Sometimes she was a god, depended on her mood that day. There are hymns to this ancient goddess that go back 4,000 years that praise her for being able to turn the man into the woman and the woman into the man, and the right side, meaning the male, to the left side, and the left side to the right side. Her followers would dress male on one side, female on the other.
No.
And we've got a major denomination, the Church of Scotland, 2 weeks ago, issued a decree saying, okay, we're going to allow for the full acceptance into the church of people in same-sex relationships. Because when Moses wrote that back in 1500 BC, that was just reflecting the culture of the day in which he lived. No, it didn't. It was exactly the opposite of the culture in which he lived. When Moses came down from Sinai, that was in response to what God saw happening in Egypt, in Canaan, in Mesopotamia, Babylon. That was progressive. And it is still progressive today. The people who call themselves progressive today are trying to take us back to 1,000 years before Moses.
Wow.
Well, and now, Jennifer a moment ago talked about the spirit of Jezebel, but Jezebel and Ahab, they were connected to the Ashtoreth poles you were talking
Exactly.
about, to the altars of Baal. And now the Arch of Baal is on an international tour. And all of these places where the G7 met not long ago, where I don't know if it's there with the G20, New York City, Rabbi Khan was in New York City when they set up the Arch of Baal.
Yeah.
This is the Baal from Palmyra, Syria, that celebrated this god that you're talking about, or one of the Baals that,
Well, in the Canaanite religion, Astarte or Ishtar or Inanna was the consort of Baal. Now, here's the thing: again, this is the stuff I find fascinating in reading about what the people around ancient Israel believed, because the secular scholars are getting all the pieces of the puzzle, but they don't recognize the picture because they don't have the biblical lens. The people who lived in the time of Moses knew that a mountain called Mount Zaphon was the site of Baal's palace. It's located in Turkey. It's just across the border from Syria. It's right on the Mediterranean coast. Big mountain, very majestic, 5,000 feet high.
Wow.
That's where Baal's palace was located. Mount Zaphon is referenced 3 times in the Bible with a very specific phrase, the Hebrew Yerikah Zaphon. Now, please forgive me, my Hebrew is terrible. I'm not pronouncing it correctly. It's mentioned in Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14, where it's a very famous passage where Isaiah says, how art thou fallen, O Lucifer, son of the dawn? And he talks about how Lucifer wants to establish his mount of the congregation. Isaiah 14:13, thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, the angels of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. You've heard that phrase. It's a curious phrase, Yerikah Zaphon. But there are English translations that recognize, what he's talking about is Mount Zaphon, the holy mountain of Baal. Now, there are 2 other places it's mentioned. One is in Psalm 48, where the psalmist is comparing and contrasting Zion with Zaphon to show how Mount Zion, God's mount of the congregation, is superior. But in Ezekiel 38, Ezekiel 38:15, where he's talking about the prophesied war against Israel by Gog of Magog.
Yes.
And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, Yerikah Zaphon, the sides of the north. The hordes of Magog are going to come from Mount Zaphon, the holy mountain of Baal. And I believe we're talking about when Gog of Magog is a supernatural entity. A lot of prophecy scholars, and God love them, I've learned an awful lot from them, are looking for a human to fulfill the role of Gog. Who is Gog? Is it Vladimir Putin? Is it Recep Tayyip Erdogan? No, I think we're talking about Baal. And who does Jesus say Baal is? Satan. It's very simple.
Wow.
Gog is Satan. And he's going to lead this end times army that's going to make war against Israel. Holy mountains, key to the whole thing. And why? Because he wants to take Mount Zion, God's mount of the congregation, for his own. And that's why Armageddon is going to be fought at Jerusalem for Mount Zion.
Yeah.
This is powerful.
Very powerful.
If you don't get into the Word, you don't know where we are in the light of eternity, in the light of what God's saying.
It's true.
And it's scary that people will be uninformed. He said he doesn't want that day to come upon us unaware.
No.
So we've got to begin to study. I hope you'll order this set of books.
Yes, this
But,
is fabulous.
Let's talk about North Korea. It's right in the news every day. People are startled by it, and then I'm going to have Lance Wallnau bring a quick word on it.
I'm going to say something I haven't talked about even to you, because I think this is something that is, and I'm speculating a bit here because we kind of have to do that when it comes to Bible prophecy. I mean, the apostles didn't understand the prophecies of Jesus' first coming, until the Pentecost.
Yeah.
I mean, Acts chapter 1, they were still asking Jesus, are you going to establish the kingdom of Israel now?
Right.
And Jesus like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
So we probably don't understand the second coming prophecies any better than the apostles do. At least I'm not going to claim that I do. But let me suggest this. One of the gods that I write about in The Great Inception is a god that was very popular, if you will, in the ancient world, the ancient Near East. He was a god called Resheph. He was a Semitic god of pestilence. In fact, there are places in the Bible where our English translations read pestilence. But the people in the days of the prophets and apostles knew they were talking about a god called Resheph, god of pestilence, and he spread pestilence with his bow and arrow. He was also the Babylonian god Nergal, the god who held the keys to the underworld. So did Resheph. Here's the thing. Resheph is also identified as the god Apollo, which ties into what Tom was talking about earlier. Apollo, Apollyon, spreading pestilence and plague and destruction with his arrows. So now, what is the 21st century equivalent of shooting a distance weapon like an arrow?
Yeah.
A missile. And just this past weekend, North Korea successfully tested its first intercontinental ballistic missile.
Sure did.
We may be looking at the spirit of Resheph or Apollo getting ready to shoot his arrows.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Let's see what Lance Wallnall has to say about
Really
this.
powerful.
Let's roll that.
God is looking for founding fathers. He's finding fathers. I was preaching Singapore, Thailand, Australia, South Korea. You know something's going to break loose in North Korea. You know Donald Trump's going to do something because he's anointed to loose the loins of kings, loose the belts of kings. That means he's anointed to disarm his adversaries. He's got an Isaiah 45 anointing him. Donald Trump's going to do something with North Korea. Nobody's talking about it. We ought to be, as a Christian community, aware that's the next big global event. July 4th, Independence Day. God gave America a reprieve from judgment. Gave us a president half the church is embarrassed about. You should be thanking God for Donald Trump. There's no Christian I could see in the White House who has the chutzpah, the titanium spine, the unpredictability, the force of character to do what needs to be done like this man. That's why God raises up a Churchill or a Lincoln or a Donald Trump. It's the Cyrus anointing in history playing itself out.
That's just a quick piece of what he had to say. But people, it's coming. We're in the final times. And we haven't listened to what God has to say. And it's time to wake up. It really is time to wake up. And Derek, you talk about a double cross is about to break on America.
When we look at the last verses in Daniel chapter 11, verses, I believe, about 40 through 45, we read of a prophetic series of conflicts, wars, led by the Antichrist, who will apparently come to the defense of Israel. I think the double cross is that the Antichrist will present himself as a savior to Israel, will present himself as a dynamic and effective political or military leader, or both, and lead Israel to a smashing victory over its nearby neighbors. I think there are, actually it's a double cross here, because I think, and I say this with no joy, I think that Muslims, the only use that they serve to the fallen right now, from here until the end of history, is as cannon fodder. That they will be used to lure Israel and perhaps the United States and the West into a devastating war in which the Islamic neighbors of Israel are destroyed, which would lead not only the Jews to welcome this as their Messiah, Messiah ben Joseph and then Messiah ben David, because they believe that there will be two. It could welcome a lot of Christians in the West who don't understand Bible prophecy to welcome this man as a Messiah figure, if not Jesus incarnate.
And we've had, it's either 5 or 6 of the top rabbis in Israel recently that have done two things. They have tied the election of Donald Trump with the start of the Messianic era. But they've also been talking about this Messiah. Some of them have even said he's here now, and he's about to present himself. And of course, the whole idea for a Jewish Messiah is a political figure that wins great victories in wars.
That's why they didn't recognize Jesus of Nazareth, because he was not a political figure. And they've already tied it to the Syrian Civil War. They believe that the Syrian Civil War is the war of Gog and Magog, some of them anyway.
We're honored, so honored.
Well, now you know, Mondo, why I wanted Derek and Sharon to come to work for Skywatch TV, and you said, I've assembled this team. God assembled this team, right? I just said, yay, Lord, this looks good to me, right?
Well, it seems to me that the Lord is doing something really special in Southwest Missouri, don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
he's had this plan in place since before he created man.
Right.
Yes.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah.
I don't know who was on the show.
how it all
And it's
comes
kind of like Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
Against all odds, the most unusual thing you would
Yes.
never say. This is
Right.
gonna, and so you would never say that Blue Eye
Right.
and Crane, Missouri.
Right.
are gonna
Yeah,
Like,
never in a million
place
years.
on earth, right?
The
Here it is.
Ozarks. Cindy
Jacobs
Jacobs
was just recently here
was just here a
prophesying
couple days
that
ago.
the next revival. Corrington Boone has prophesied this over the years. I mean, so many prophets. Something is happening here in Missouri.
Right, and she said out of Southwest, she was sitting right where you are, Tom, and just a few days ago, and she said out of Southwest Missouri, she used that terminology. A great revival is going to spread from here, and I can see. Look at this team right here. That we get the opportunity to share with you, not only just by listening to it, but then there's the books, so you can devour them, you can underline them, you can get into them, you can read them again. You can get this right here that for a 56. By the way, we're celebrating Jim's 56 years of ministry, and every single taping, every single broadcast, all John Shorey's wonderful seminars. John, you've had today. I loved your seminar today, John Shorey. I said I would get that just for that seminar. And so, everything is on here. All the nights preaching. Donna Howell, when she preaches, that'll be in here. You're gonna get everything just for a gift of $56 to the ministry.
Don't go away. We'll be right back after this special message.
What would you do if too many people showed up at your door than what you had food prepared to feed? Are you going to tell them that, sorry, but we only have enough food for our group?
John, you wanted to do something that would literally revolutionize survival food and extend it. Let's start at the top.
The chicken bouillon is my favorite product because it's the ultimate multiplier. Now, it also has multiple uses. You go and you take chicken bouillon and you put it into a big pot of what's going to be stew, and you add rice that's very reasonably priced. And if you've got your garden growing, you throw vegetables in, and you've got chicken flavored soup with rice, beans, lentil beans. They're all in this kit. 900 something servings in a can. So we work on down to the apples, the long grain rice, rolled oats. You can use oats. There's bread that's included in this kit. And you can go and mix other grains with the bread. You can go and put oats in your bread, make it more like a whole wheat bread. The chicken gravy. Let me tell you, the chicken gravy can be used on so many things so that you don't have food fatigue.
But you get 6 of the chicken gravy cans. There's even a 6-gallon bucket of my Italian favorite. I call everything mine, but Italian marinara. You have 6 gallons of mashed potatoes. This costs $900. It's 5,001 servings of different stuff here. It's 17 cents per serving for these buckets. But these are the multipliers. Where's the peanut butter? This is brand new. This is 30-year peanut butter. Do you like peanut butter?
Love it.
Anybody grow up with peanut butter?
Peanut butter, yes.
Oh, here's all, this is so heavy. This is not cheap junk. I'll tell you that.
12 loaves of bread in that bucket.
12 loaves of bread. Here's the bread. Here's the stuff to make white bread and rolls. 96 servings of bread. This is the bread, and you can get wheat or
and that's
white bread,
the bread
right?
I made for you. So there's a white or a wheat. You don't need yeast for this bread. That's one of the fantastic things about it. I mean, the creativeness in this kit is just amazing. It's one of our favorite things to do. I know your black bean burger, I'm jumping ahead, is in there as well.
So you get the 4-gallon bucket of black bean burgers, and then you get the 6-gallon buckets, and you have instant mashed potatoes. You have 6 gallons of them. And then this amazing vegetable soup.
Vegetable stew, which has 7 different vegetables in it.
Now you call it vegetable stew soup. It's so thick. So you remember that was peak. We were making.
Yes.
You were helping me set up that table.
Absolutely.
That stew, vegetable stew. Honestly, with the bouillon, you could make 100 gallons of soup. So you have another big 6-gallon bucket down there. That is 6-gallon bucket of lentil beans.
Yes.
So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to go through it real fast.
Let's go through the list.
Okay,
Let's
so
get
we
this
have 3
straight.
cans of the chicken bouillon, 921 servings per can. We have 2 cans of apple slices. And those cans that we were all passed around and eating the apples, that's 64 apples in the kit. If you have fresh apples. The long grain white rice, we talked about how awesome the long grain is, right? So there's 47 servings per can. Regular oats, but there's 2 cans. 6 cans of chicken gravy. We talked about how versatile the gravy is. There's a can of peanut butter powder packed with protein. Peanut butter powder is just add water and you've got the best spreadable peanut butter, I think, in the market. 6-gallon buckets we talked about. But we talked about the mashed potatoes, 235 servings. Vegetable soup, 7 different vegetables inside that pail. We know the versatility of that vegetable stew or soup or side dish, whatever you get your vegetables there. Creamy potato soup, awesome. It's one of the most versatile things we have. One of the greatest tasting things we have. Italiano marinara noodles, 4-gallon bucket. The black bean burger was the biggest test for Augustine Farms to be approved here at the ministry. We don't all want to eat the same thing over and over every day. We talked about the diets that we have to get on. But listen, if we're in time of trouble and we want comfort, what do? We conversate and we eat. And what's the favorite thing about dinner? It's the food, the family, conversation.
Right.
And we not only got a package ourselves, but we went to our pastor and we said, every church that has home cells, cell groups, at least one person at every cell group ought to have a complete supply so that if something happens, the people in the church will be protected and they won't be so in a survival mode that they won't be able to help others.
That's exactly.
So that's exactly what we need to be seeing happen.
Right. So this is the Mega Food Multiplier. It's for a gift to the ministry of just $900, and that is for a serve. You'll get 5,000 plus servings. It's just 17 cents per serving at that, and the value is $1,750.
Wow.
So you're saving $850. Now is the time to get this.
Just call and order it or go to our website at jimbakkershow.com.
Or call at 1-888-988-1588, or you can still write us at P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615.
Pastor Jim, I have an article over here that is telling us since the launch in North Korea, Alaska is lobbying for more defense. As a matter of fact, Senator Dan Sullivan spoke up and wrote and said that now more than ever, it is imperative for Alaskans and the rest of the nation to be prepared. And Jerry Jones sent me this article from the Business Insider saying for more people to have supplies for preparedness. I think this idea that Jerry came up with for $70 where you can have a bucket a month is a very good idea. If you have not started to prepare, I think it's very important to consider being able to do the monthly, a bucket a month for an entire year, to help protect yourself. I've talked to security, and they say that if you're going to wait for the government, you're going to be waiting for a very long time.
What we heard Mark tell us.
Mark Agassiz was sitting right there where you're sitting, Donna. He said, if Yellowstone goes, they can no longer make food. Simple as that. It doesn't get any more clear that if Yellowstone
erupts, goes off, we will not have any more food in America.
None.
The warehouses will be gone.
Well, the store shelves will be empty.
Oh, yeah.
And the breadbasket of America, the grain belt will be destroyed.
And there will be so much expellant in the atmosphere, the rest of the world won't grow food either.
That's right.
Yellowstone
It's a real thing.
Will destroy all of the world in as far as going wiping out the sun, the moon, and it'll be dark.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where people are just going to be totally gone.
And on top of that, you might have inflation take place in a matter of 24 hours. We saw that when Fukushima hit, inflation hit immediately when it came to food, because for a $75 bucket, for example, went on the internet the next hour for $1,500 for one bucket.
That's right.
So you talk about inflation hitting right after this catastrophe. It's going to be too late after something does take place. I think it was a warning from God. It was a warning for the people. It was warning for the church that if we don't start doing it now, I remember God giving you a dream, Dad, about now. And you made hats and you made a shirt. Now. And you keep saying, every time you called me, every time you emailed me, it was now. So I think people need to get the message that now is the time to get this food in your house, get your house in order, get your ministry in order, get whatever you can in order, because one catastrophe can be 1 minute too late, or as our dear friend said, 1 second too late.
Yeah, that's right.
But this right here, Mondo, you need to help me, because this is 1 year of food. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
The bucket is a gallon larger, isn't it?
Yes, it's a 5-gallon bucket, Pastor. With that.
Okay. So here's the thing: for how many dollars is this worth right now?
That's just $300.
Okay, for $300.
Yes.
For $300, you have a whole year of food to keep you alive. You will stay alive for a year.
We've gone up to 30-year shelf life, too, Pastor. It's stamped right on that bucket, too. 30 years. Yes, sir.
But a lot of people buy TV sets cost as much as this set right here. People don't mind paying $1,500 for a television set.
That's right. And that's for...
So you got food for 7 years.
Exactly.
And then the new food that, you know, you can add the extenders. And you can literally make maybe a dozen year of food just adding one of our amazing new...
The mega food multiplier.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Those mega foods is what's going to make this food extend even longer. What if you add extra potatoes to your meal? What if you add extra vegetables to your meal? That's going to make that food expand for several days, especially if you got 20 people
Mondo,
in your
you've
group.
been watching Lance Wallnau.
Yes, sir.
What about what he's saying? He is saying something is going to shock America in North Korea.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Absolutely, that's right.
I'm not even sure what it is. Do you think you know what it is?
I don't think I know what it is, but I think there's something coming. And you've been saying this the last several weeks as well.
Saying it's time for the church to wake up.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I'm in a warfare right now. This is the worst warfare on TV I've ever had in my life. We are in the final days. And things are happening. And the church is not listening. This is what's sad. We are in the last days. And here you have, you know, I have probably in my basement, I probably have 15 years of food for my family. And the other day you saw all my kids and my grandkids and all on. But I've just been adding to it and adding to it. Why not? Why not? What's on this truck? You know, what's wrong with stacking some food away? Why not taking, you know, we have this amazing new food. This is the most reasonable food we've ever had. And one bucket, you could do a bucket of the month club.
Absolutely.
And how much food is in this bucket then?
241 servings, which is 2+ months of food. So when you were saying do a bucket a month, that at the end of a year, you have 2+ years of food, so you can eat some while you're saving some.
It's over, a little over, isn't it?
It's more than 2 years of food
It's 2
after
years
a
of
year
food.
commitment. Yes, sir.
But for you, how many families, Mondo? You have a bunch of kids, couple kids, great kids. But this is $70. Why would you not want to once a month save $70 And you could do that every month, and you would have food. It's actually, if you do this monthly, this is what we do, monthly. If you do it $70, pledge it monthly, and you have this deal going, it's almost
It's 2+ years after one a month for
it's
a year.
almost 3 months, isn't it?
It's about 2.5 years, Pastor.
Okay.
How did God speak to you about this, though? Because you called Jerry and I the next day. You said, God spoke to me in a dream, and you saw this.
I had the most amazing dream of my lifetime. God woke me up, and he said, you have to do something, because we stopped offering our regular food because it was the best food we've ever made. Very, very expensive. And God said, I want you to make them as cheap. You find the inexpensive food, the most inexpensive foods you could make. And so I said, I called Mark and I said, Mark, I've got to build some buckets in the cheapest food that we have, that we could possibly put together. But it's great food. It's, you know, so in this is amazing, amazing cheap food.
Absolutely.
Inexpensive.
You
I'm
got-
not supposed to say
no,
cheap. Lori
you-
says
no,
don't say
you
cheap.
got mashed potatoes.
Mashed potato. This is what we ate at Mom's house at, you know, all the special dinners.
Yes.
We always had. Grandma Irwin made the best mashed potatoes there ever was. And we have great real potato mashed potatoes. That comes.
Then you get buttermilk pancakes.
All this amazing food, you talk about ease of preparing. Now, for instance, you have these are, I love these. This is something I love to eat, is the quick oats.
Yes.
It cooks in minutes. All you do is get some hot water, dump it in there, the oats, it'll grow.
Yeah.
It just literally grows as it cooks. And pinto beans, aren't they good?
Oh, they're fantastic. They taste good. They smell good. And again, it's part of your meal for a day.
What do you think the white rice? Have you tried it?
I love the white rice. And I'm Latino, so we mix everything, right? So I
Yes.
mix the rice and beans, and it tastes fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the vegetable stew as well. You got potatoes, cabbage, onions, red and green bell peppers, carrots, and celery.
That's God stuff. We don't eat much God stuff anymore, but they're great for you. You know, anything, if you got a stomach problem, you need to eat some cabbage.
Yes, you do.
Cook with the juice in it, okay? But the onions.
Onions.
Oh, and then you have red and green bell peppers.
Yes.
And then that's healthy.
Yes,
My
it
doctors
is.
told me what to do to get healed because I wasn't doing right for my kidneys. Somebody had given me the wrong stuff to eat, and it was killing me.
It was.
Now that's really pretty crazy, but I'll tell about it when the doctor comes and tell it to you. So God gave me just this stew alone is potatoes, cabbage, onions, red and green bell peppers, and carrots, and celery.
Yes.
But this is staying alive. This is what will stay you alive, and you can get it one bucket at a time for a gift of one at a time is $75.
Yes.
If you do it monthly, you can get it
For
$70 a month. Okay.
And you forgot the morning moon milk as well. So again, you got milk in this product that is not just regular milk. It is one of the best tasting milks that you can drink.
It's better than regular milk.
It is.
It's healthy. And this is so good. But here's what's going to keep us alive. And this is enough to keep you alive. And then here you have, all of this is in right here, truck. And this will come to your house. Not on this truck. This is my truck. But it'll come on the UPS. And this is 7 years. What does the Bible say? What does the Bible say 7 years is? The time of trouble.
The time of trouble.
Is that right?
That's right.
Well, I live on what God says. I believe what God says. So we're going to have all of this, and that's 7 years of food.
That's right.
It's like having an insurance, food insurance.
That's right.
No way could you have food when they stopped delivering the food, and I was shocked when the people who manufacture this food told me, if Yellowstone goes off, if it goes off, there'll be no food. They won't make any more. He said, well, our factory is so close to Yellowstone, we will never be able to cook food again.
That's right.
And there's, I don't know, maybe there's one company besides our company.
Perhaps.
That, and I don't even know if there's one, but the biggest problem is most of the people who make food are made by this company.
Yes. Yes.
They buy from our company, and so people are selling food for like $4 and $5 even.
That's right.
When God woke me up and spoke to me and said, I want you to make the best food for the price you can possibly make. And I heard people, I know it's crazy, I'm getting old, so maybe I'm just a little, tipsy, but God, really dealt with me.
Yes.
And they were singing in my dream, Staying Alive. Staying Alive. Remember Tammy Sue?
Oh,
I don't do it good.
I remember.
I want to tell you all something. This show today is so important. And Tom Horn is truly called of God to do what he's doing. The devil does not want this show. They don't want us talking about angels. God woke me up, and I felt the presence of God like I'd never felt. And he said, Jim, I want you to start with, do more food. Build a new type of food. And so on there, it calls right there. Right there. See, Staying Alive. And this is the first time in history there's ever been a 30-year shelf life food. This is what God is saying to me, and we'll find out. That's right. You'll find out if I hear from God or not, because one of these days we're in the last days. And the years I spent in prison, God showed me the revelation. And I'm telling you, almost all of it is already fit. We're going to see the ends, the end of time. And that's where we are right now. Okay, come on. Sing this just a little bit of this.
All right, band.
Okay.
Play it. Come on, let's get excited now. You know you like it. You know you're having fun. Come on. Some of you stand up. Come on. I'm staying alive, staying alive. I'm staying alive, staying alive. I'm staying alive, staying alive. I'm staying alive. Yeah, come on now.
I'm staying alive. Staying alive. I'm staying alive. I'm staying alive. I'm staying alive. I'm staying alive. I got my food, and I'm staying alive. I got my peace, and I'm staying alive. I'm staying alive. I'm staying alive. Are you staying alive? I'm staying alive. Why don't you wave your hand if you're staying alive? Why don't you wave your hand if you're staying alive? I got souls to win. I'm staying alive. I got souls to win, and I'm staying alive. I got so much joy, and I'm staying alive. Why don't you do your dance if you're staying alive? Why don't you clap your hands if you're staying alive? Why don't you stamp your feet if you're staying alive? Hallelujah. Yes, Lord. I'm staying alive, staying alive. I'm staying alive.
Amen.
Wow. Thank you, guys. Wow.
Remember that song.
So,
You'll remember.
So
You'll
can
hear
you imagine James Huey's there singing with our
You
group?
know, thank you, James Huey. You're the best.
One of the great men of God there.
He really is.
Great singer.
He really is.
And buy his music. I really like people to
absolutely.
go online. You can download so much of it now.
Yes, yes.
And I am so proud of him.
Yes.
And so proud how the president reacted
Yeah.
to this man wrote this song at 13 years of age when he was a kid.
That's right.
And God, his mother prophesied he'd
Yes.
be used of God.
Yes.
And the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And you know, our president, just like, you know, we had him do what the president said here.
That
And
worship.
the president, here we have what the president said. He's not a perfect man, but he's God's person, you know? And I love, the president said, we don't worship government, we worship God.
Amen. And you know, we know this about the president is that he asks for prayer. He
Absolutely.
loves. He said, you know what he said to Pastor Pena, sat here on the show with us one day, and Pastor Pena's
Well, he
on
said
the Hispanic Advisory Committee with the president.
What did he send a message to you and me on the phone? We talked to the White House, you and I.
Right, yes.
And what did he say? He said,
he asked for prayer. He was going in to meet with the
senators
right then.
And he said, I want you all to pray.
Yes.
He's praying every day.
Yes. And
he's not ashamed of prayer.
He surrounds himself with prayer warriors. He surrounds himself with men and women of God. And he said, his 5 favorite words are, I am praying for you. When people say that to him, I am praying for you. His 5 favorite words.
And he said last week, liberty is from our Creator.
Yes.
He said it. And for the way, you know, Christian people even, or religious people, are blaspheming the President of the United States.
Yes, they are.
And we better get close to God because we're in deep, deep trouble. And then he said, President Trump, he said this, my administration will always support your religious liberty.
Yes. Amen. Thank you, Mr. President.
It's been a long time since a president stood up for God and our religious freedom.
Yes.
Well, our time's gone. We want you to be sure to order our special book package
That's
today.
right.
Is
Oh,
the,
my
and
goodness.
the food.
I still can't get
Order
over
the
it. I'm like,
People are starting to order the food because they know something's happening. And I got a lot more to talk about on our show tomorrow. But these books for only $35. Well, that's cheaper than $10 a book. What?
Yeah,
That's terrible. It's $80 worth of books.
It's just,
and
wow.
You're doing it for $35, and you have the best deals in books
You
in
do.
the world.
You're very,
and they're not old books; they're brand new books.
Brand new, yeah.
Yeah.
All of them.
And hot stuff.
Yep, bestsellers.
God stuff. And I'll tell you what, it's really exciting.
And thank you for doing that for us and for our partners. Thank you, Tom.
And Donna Howell is. I want to run some of your sermon if you'll let me. Because she's preaching tomorrow night.
It's going to be on
and
here.
It's going to be on the
Yes,
set.
right. And you can get this.
Everybody can help us at $56
Right.
to help us stay on the air.
That's right. Exactly.
And that's our anniversary.
That's in honor of you
for the ministry.
Preaching 56 years. That's what that's all about.
So order this set of books. You got it. What is it called?
It's called the Trump Prophecies Bundle. So call right now 1-888-988-1588 and just ask
This
for
is the only book. This is the only
Bundle.
book, Glory, written by this man who prophesied in 2 years. I think he started at least. Didn't he?
Oh, actually, the prophecy, the word came to him from God in 2011.
And now, and they all laughed. They laughed at him.
Of course.
And then they all said, Trump's never going to be president. And they laughed. The newspaper people laughed, mocked him. And so now he's telling what's coming next, and this is his new book. In fact, his only book. This is the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
The book should be $35 by itself for this book. So you get this book, then you get
Donna's
the
book.
Radicals by Donna Hall. She is going to shake the world. She's already shaken the world. And she's got an amazing book. And she's bold. She says she's bashful. I don't believe it. And so Derek Gilbert, The Great Inception.
Brilliant.
Satan's from what?
Psyops.
From Eden to Armageddon. And this is a great message for the last days of what's going on. And then we have the publisher, or the editor
Yes, of Charisma.
Charisma
Yes,
magazine. And this is Angels on Assignment again. And don't forget to order this for a gift of $56.
Yes.
Videos. I don't know how many videos are in here. Dozens and dozens of videos.
So
And
many.
all of the guests on the show today.
Yes.
And so many people.
Mike and Cindy Jacobs, Pat Schatzline, Tom Horn, Hubie Sen, Bobby Connor, John Shorey, Bill Whaley, Bishop Ron Webb, Darren Parker, Derek and Sharon Gilbert, Dr. Cheryl Selman, Donna Howe, Frank Davis, Jennifer LeClaire, Mark Augustin, Michelle Beccarella, Pastor Joe Campbell, Ray Gano, Caleb Harmony family, James Huey, John Sager, Marcy, Nadia, little Nadia Cole, when she was a little girl, all grown up now. Tammy Sue Baker and the Circes and many
a
more.
whole week of John
Yeah.
Shorey.
Yeah.
How to be prepared. And of course, Bobby Connors is great. So he's going to, maybe we'll have him a couple times on here because he's speaking this week.
Yes.
And Hubie Sin, man, he went late at night because he was
Everybody got a word last
prophesying
night.
to everybody.
That's right.
Order the videos, all of it. So, because you all didn't get in to see it all, I know that. So you'll have it for a gift of $56. So do it now.
Yes.
And we have to go. Remember that God loves you. Don't forget to get your food. Start ordering food. Even if you just order a bucket a month, you can do that and send it to your house and get in and get ready.
That's right.
We have to go.
Okay.
Don't miss our show tomorrow. God loves you. He really does. Bye-bye for today.
Bye-bye. We love you.
Coming soon to Morningside and the Jim Bakker Show. Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis will return to Morningside Friday, July 28th. We're honored to have Paula White with us on the Jim Bakker Show Tuesday, August 15th. We're honored to have evangelist Alveda King with us Thursday, August 24th. Author and prophet Rick Joyner will be sharing a powerful word. Rabbi Jonathan Kahn will introduce his new book, The Paradigm, Wednesday, September 6th and Thursday, September 7th. Join us every night at 7 p.m. for The Prophet Speak, an evening filled of worship and ministry. For our full schedule, go online to jimbakkershow.com. We can't wait for you to see what God's doing here at Morningside.